and you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. There's no way. There's no way.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
It's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
This questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week, and spring training is just around the corner, Austin, and with that comes a top 10 list, which I think we do it for the NFL. We try to mix in other sports, but then other sports are happening. I do believe we did a starting pitchers one once, but this is probably the most difficult one, as we were talking before the episode started.
The league is pitchers more than ever. There are so many elite starting pitchers in the league. And it seems like there shouldn't be, but there's so many guys that keep pitching well in starts, out of starts, and it really makes it tough. I technically have 13 guys on my list because I have 3 honorable mentions. I'll start first with my 3 honorable mentions. My 3 honorable mentions are Jacob deGrom, Logan Webb, and Max Fried. And all 3 of those guys got Cy Young votes last year, but that just shows how deep the pool really is.
All 3 of those guys are in my top 10. Yep.
Okay.
Mine is Hunter Green, Cole Ragans, and Nathan Eovaldi.
Wow. I don't have Nathan Eovaldi on my list. I think the injury concerns are, and the fact that he is as old as he is to go through what he had to with all the shoulder stuff. Shoulder injuries kind of scare me a little bit more than elbow injuries now. As long as you're not getting a ton of Tommy John surgeries. But I'm shocked by Hunter Brown. I mean, Hunter Brown almost won the Cy Young this past year. He was
Hunter
third
Green.
in Cy Young voting. What?
Hunter Green, sorry. Hunter Brown's in my top 10. Hunter Green.
Oh, Hunter Green.
Is it? Yeah.
Did you say? I actually don't know which one you said.
Okay. I'll go into it. Hunter Brown.
I'll just say it was my mistake. I think it was my mistake. I don't know which one you said, though.
Okay. Hunter Green is my honorable mention, but Hunter Brown is my 10.
Okay, that works. That was a perfect transition.
Yeah.
I have Hunter Brown higher than that. My number 10 is Christopher Sanchez. He's going to have to take up a bigger role now because Zach Wheeler, we don't know what's happening because of his thoracic outlet syndrome. And then also they lost Randy Suarez. This team is going to be very light on him, but he is extremely talented. He was second in Cy Young voting. I do think he'll take a little bit of a step back this year, but if you're on this top 10 list, you're elite of elite. Like, we're not questioning how good these players are, and it's a little bit nitpicking depending on where they go.
Yeah, he is in my top 10. I'm a little bit higher than you, but yeah, I think even with that workload, he pitched 202 innings last season, 2.50 ERA. I think he is willing to handle that workload, and I think he'll be really great this upcoming year.
Who's your 9?
My 9 is Shohei Ohtani, which
I know I don't have Shohei on my list.
That's fair because when I think about Shohei, yes, the greatest value from him is he can pitch well and hit very well. I think he's a fantastic pitcher. But I think I have him in the top 10 because I do think he's going to be dominant. But I am concerned about his workload.
Yeah, is how many times he's going to pitch a year. This past year, he did have a 2.87 ERA in 14 starts. In the playoffs, he was not the same pitcher, in my opinion. 4.43 ERA in 4 starts. And I do wonder how much he's going to start during the year. I don't think he's going to have a true starter workload. He'll probably start 20, 22, 23 games. There'll probably be some rest games in there because of how much he's relied upon for their offense. But I do think that the ability for him to pitch on his best night is up there with anybody. I just don't think he's top 10 pitchers. Again, the bar for top 10 is so fine that there's a lot of guys that I don't even have in my top 10 or honorable mentions that I'm like, wow, I really wish I had that guy here. My 9 is Brian Wu. Wu was a player that was 5th in Cy Young voting this past year in the AL. He had a 2.94 ERA, and he's been on a team now that, yes, he struggled in the bullpen during the postseason. But that was after a little bit of an injury spell, and he wasn't really 100% for a Seattle team that almost went to the World Series. And who knows what would have happened if they got there. If Wu was healthy during the entire postseason, I do think they beat the Blue Jays, but that obviously wasn't the case. I think Wu takes the next step this upcoming year. He continues his growth. Over his 3 seasons, he's gone down consistently in his ERA, even though he's a little bit up this past year, but it was more impressive. And he is a great young talent for a Seattle team that expects to be back in the playoffs this upcoming season.
Yeah, he is a guy that was a harsh cut for me when you just talk about how fine that line is, because Wu did not make my list, did not make my honorable mentions, but he was close to it. He is such a fan. He's a young player. He's 25. He's a fantastic guy with great fastball velocity. And it's something to where I think he's someone that's like, okay, he can be really great. I think this season's more of a learning curve. While all the guys above him, to me, have experience and have demonstrated it for at least one season at a high level.
Well, Wu's been good his entire career. I mean, last year he had a 2.94. Year before that, 2.89. And what really impresses me about him is his low whip. His whip was only .927 or 927. That is lower than Paul Skeen's whip, just for example, which led the NL. So if Brian Wu was in the NL, he would have had the lowest whip in the NL. But he wasn't. The only 2 guys in the that had as much starts or close to as many starts as him in the AL were Tariq Skubal and Jacob deGrom. So his ability to keep guys off base is up there with top 5 potential. Now, I do think he gives up a little bit too many home runs, but outside of that, I think that he's an amazing talent. Who's your 8?
My 8 is Max Fried. When you look at what he continued his excellence with the Yankees last season, he had a 2.86 ERA, pitched 195 innings, and I think he continues that with the Yankees. As I know, Garrett Cole should be expected back this season sometime. I think Max Fried is the ace, and I think he'll pitch like a top 10 pitcher this upcoming season.
You and I are going to have different opinions about who's the ace this upcoming year for the Yankees. We'll get to that soon. But my number 8 is Andrew Abbott. Abbott was a player last year that had a 2.87 ERA for a Reds team that made the playoffs for the first time in a little bit, at least if you exclude 2020 when there was 8 teams that made it. He was 8th in Cy Young voting in the NL. In his entire career, he's continuously added more games started, but also he's lowered his ERA from 3.87 to 3.72 this past year, where he had a 2.87 ERA. He didn't even have the best defense around him. I know Ellie struggled defensively. He also had a 3.66 FIP and a 159 ERA plus. I'm extremely impressed, but I think this is when Abbott takes his next step. I've been on him for his entire career, and I think that this upcoming year he makes a statement.
And yeah, I had Hunter Green as my honorable mention, and it is kind of a pairing between Green and Abbott and the debate of who is the better pitcher, and we kind of chose different sides for that. As Abbott, I think, is the safer option than Hunter Green, where Hunter Green to me has a lot of highs but has some lows, just given with his fastball. But that I think he increases his floor and kind of stabilizes his performance more this season.
There's also the injury concerns. I mean, he only pitched 107 innings this past season. Hunter Green did, so that's where I'm kind of a little bit off him. Also, he gets more home runs, which is not the best thing. He just strike out the players more, and he has an electric fastball. But the injury concerns plus the elevated home run rate does make me a little bit wary. Who's your next pitcher?
So my 7, we already talked about him a lot. Christopher Sanchez. I think with the Phillies, he had a phenomenal year, and he is someone that I think is going to continue to play well as he takes a bigger role with Philadelphia.
Okay, that's probably a good pick. I think that Christopher Sanchez. I have him a little bit lower than you, obviously, but I don't think that's necessarily a crazy pick, especially when you consider what he was able to do this past season for the Phillies when they had some concerns regarding how they were going to get out towards the end of the season with all the injuries they had to their rotation. My number 7 is a guy that I don't expect to be on your list at all, but I think he deserves his flowers. It's Drew Rasmussen. Rasmussen is the pitcher for the Rays. You look a little bit confused.
I've heard the name Drew Rasmussen, but I just couldn't think of the team.
Since 2020, so since he's come to Tampa, what do you think his highest, so his worst ERA since 2020?
Worst, I'll probably go 3.5.
2.84. That is the worst it's been since 2020. Since 2020. This past year, he did 2.76 ERA, and he's been remarkable ever since. Yes, he's had some injury concerns in the past. In 2022, he did pitch 28 games. This is when he had his 2.84 ERA. The next year, only 8 games started, 2.62. The next year, 16 games played, 2.83. This past year, 31. He was 9th in Cy Young voting. He is a wagon for a team that is going to need him to be an ace for them this season. But he is a 2.89 ERA in 81 career starts and 130 career games played. And I don't hear anyone ever talk about him. When I watch Rays games, I like watching the Rays play because they are a fun team to watch sometimes, especially when I'm watching AL East teams. I don't want to watch the Red Sox. So he's just a great pitcher. And I don't understand how no one talks about him to the level that he's pitched at. Again, since 2020, the lowest or the highest ERA, the worst ERA he's had is a 2.84. And ever since he's been a starting pitcher, he's been amazing. And I think he deserves his flowers. And I think he's easily a top 10 pitcher this upcoming season.
All right. And the Rays are a great team that, as I look at it, he was one of the players traded from Milwaukee for Willy Adames in that trade between the Brewers and Rays. And that's something the Rays are great at developing are those pitchers that seem to come out of nowhere. I want to think of Tyler Glasnow was one when he was included in that trade for Chris Archer between the Pirates, and he just kind of burst on the scene. So that is a great pick, and we'll have to see how that goes with him being in your top 10. So that, I believe, puts me at my 6, which is, for me, Logan Webb. I know he was in your honorable mention. He is a phenomenal pitcher with San Francisco. We talked about just how well their pitching is. 270 innings last year. He did have a 3.22 ERA last year, but I think he's going to rebound from that, pitch a high amount of innings, and be that ace for the Giants.
Okay. So, yeah, the Giants are just a tough team to gauge right now because I've been on them for the past couple of years and they just have not performed. I'm very intrigued to see how they play this year outside of him and with him. Hunter Brown is my 6. He, for the Astros this year, this past year was amazing. 3rd in Cy Young voting, as I mentioned before when I got the guy you said wrong. But he is very Justin Verlander-esque, and I say that knowing how good Justin Verlander has been in his career. But he is a player that really does take advantage of the high velo fastball, but also it looks faster than it is, and it's very hard to hit, and I'm extremely impressed. The young talent for starting pitching is extremely noteworthy this season, and I expect there to be an influx of talent, but Hunter Brown is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, and you mentioned Justin Verlander in the comparisons. They did pitch. They would be pitching for the same team. And kind of Verlander left the Astros, and I think a big part of that was Hunter Brown. I think that's a lot of to ask, especially with Framber Valdez likely not returning to the Astros. So that is why I had him a little bit lower, but I think he'll be a fantastic pitcher. My 5 is Yamamoto from the Dodgers. He didn't pitch that many innings last season with 173, and he's someone that had a rough start to his career. But to me, he was great in the postseason with the Dodgers this season, and I feel like he builds off that. And last season had a 2.49 ERA. I think he keeps that up while adding more innings this upcoming season.
Yeah, I have him a little bit higher. My number 5 is Garrett Cole. And you may be wondering, okay, Garrett Cole, he's just coming off of a couple injuries that he's had, but when Cole is pitching, I think he's the second best pitcher in the AL outside of, obviously, Tariq Skubal. So there's some questions. I do have him third here on for ours because there's a guy I have above him, but I think that Cole is going to be the ace for the Yankees this season. He had a 3.41 ERA his last season he played, but the year before that, 2.63, and was a Cy Young winner. I do think that his injuries have been a little bit overstated because the Yankees have really, I don't want to say babied him, but they've made sure that he comes back 100% whenever he gets healthy.
Yeah, and I did have the thought of Garrett Cole in the top 10, but because, yes, he was phenomenal before the injuries, and that was just a season or two ago with New York. But I am concerned. I do think it will take some time for him to develop what he was doing, which is why he wasn't in my top 10 for this season.
Okay, who's your 4?
My 4 is Garrett Crochet, and he was a phenomenal pitcher, was in contention a little bit for the AL Cy Young till Skubal ran away with it. But when I think of Garrett Crochet, I think he kind of was great with the White Sox, but when he went to Boston, he became their ace, pitched 205 innings last year, 2.59 ERA, and I think he's going to be able to replicate that success in just another year with Boston and their staff.
Okay, I also have Crochet at 4, so we agree there. Crochet's amazing, and I hate when the Yankees have to play against him. I don't have much more to add.
Yeah, so I think you can lead into your 3.
My 3 is Yamamoto for the Dodgers. I know you had him at 5, I believe, but I think that he's a little bit better than that, and he had one of the most dominant World Series I've seen by a pitcher in a very long time, and I expect him to continue that run over this upcoming season. While the Dodgers don't need him to be spectacular, I think he will do that just through his own volition. But yeah, I think he's a top 3 pitcher this upcoming season.
I can see the argument for that. And mine, yes, there is some bias. He does pitch for the Rangers, but Jacob deGrom is my 3. I know he was outside. I can understand as he gets older and his injury concerns, just with how much he pitch, with how much velocity he uses on each pitch. I understand that. I think last season was he was coming back fully back from injury and kind of understood his new role after his second Tommy John, not using as much velocity, was phenomenal for the Rangers. And I think he continues that success because as he gets older, he knows how to pitch even more, doesn't have to rely on that raw speed. But I think he continues to pitch well, and that's why he's the 3rd best pitcher in the MLB this upcoming season.
I think we're going to have the same 1 and 2.
I'm curious. We can go. My 2 is Paul Skeens.
Yeah, that's the same as me.
Okay.
I have Skeens and then Skubal at 1. I think Skubal deserves 1 after how he's been for the Tigers, and I really hope the Tigers keep him. Look, there's been talks about him getting traded, and if he gets traded to the Dodgers, I don't know how much I'm watching the sport. I mean, that just seems like the last infinity stone to a gauntlet.
Yeah, I agree. And if Tariq Skubal definitely already has that pedigree with back-to-back Cy Youngs, so of course he deserves number 1. And yeah, I hope he stays with the Tigers. I hope he doesn't get traded. But you could also make that same argument for Paul Skeens with the Pirates, but he's not on the same pedestal as Skubal. But Skeens is an amazing pitcher. He's the second best pitcher for both of us. And it would be a shame for the Pirates, who just drafted him, to end up trading him and kind of restarting it again, because there's no way you can get the same amount of value back for a pitcher of this caliber. You could argue the same thing for Detroit.
I completely agree. There's no way. Luke and trade isn't the right way to put it because it's a different sport, but you just cannot. Generational talent, does not join your roster all that often. And both of these guys are generational talents. So losing them, unless it is for a actual boatload of prospects and guarantees that that those players are going to be very good, it's hard to make the argument that you can trade either one of them.
Yeah, it's really hard. It would have to be a phenomenal offer and even more for it to work. So hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully we get to see him pitch well, stay healthy. It will be fantastic. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.